What you judge in others, you judge in yourself. That judgment is a door. Behind it is something you locked away in yourself a long time ago, and then forgot you had the key. I am speaking about your shadow, not the darkness behind you when the sun is low. The parts of yourself you quietly decided were unacceptable. The anger you swallowed because someone told you it was ugly. The grief you compressed into a shape small enough to hide. The wants you abandoned because wanting them felt dangerous or selfish or wrong. These pieces did not disappear. They became the seeds that grew into your shadow. And from there they began to run things. The qualities you most deny in yourself have a particular way of surfacing in how you see other people. The person who troubles you, whose arrogance makes you tighten, whose neediness makes you recoil, whose boldness makes you uncomfortable. These reactions carry information, not about them, about what you buried. I simply call it the shadow, speaking through the only language you left it. You turned away from certain parts of yourself early. It made sense then. You were learning what was safe, what was acceptable, what would keep you connected to the people you needed. Children do not reject parts of themselves carelessly. They do it as a form of survival. The sensitive child learns to be hard. The curious child learns to stay quiet. The passionate child learns to be measured. And all those exiled qualities settle into the shadow and wait. The waiting is patient. The shadow is not in a hurry. But here is what I want you to sit with. What you pushed away did not lose its energy. It kept all of it. And energy that is not integrated finds expression in other ways. It surfaces as the irritability that arrives without clear cause. The restlessness that no arrangement seems to resolve. The feeling of performing a version of yourself that almost fits but never quite does. That feeling is not a flaw in your character. It is a message from everything you have not yet let back in. Most people, when they begin to sense the shadow, move away from it. This is understandable. The shadow holds material that was once judged unsafe. Approaching it can feel like opening something that should stay closed, but the closing is what creates the pressure. The avoidance is what gives it power over you without your conscious participation. There is a different relationship available when you turn toward the shadow, not to indulge it, not to become it, but simply to acknowledge what is there. Something shifts. The thing that was chasing you from behind can only do so while you are running. The moment you stop and face it, you discover it is not a monster. It is a part of you that was never given a fair hearing. Your rage, looked at honestly, often contains something important about what you value. Your envy, examined without shame, frequently points toward what you genuinely want. Your fear, when you stay with it long enough, usually reveals where your care lives. Nothing in the shadow is there by accident. Everything down there is information you once decided you could not afford to receive. The work of integration is not dramatic. It does not happen in a single revelation. It happens in small moments of honesty, when you notice a reaction, and instead of explaining it away, you ask what it might be telling you. When you catch yourself judging someone harshly, and you pause to wonder whether that quality exists somewhere in you. When you feel the impulse to hide something, and you choose to look at it first, privately, with some gentleness. This is not the same as acting on every impulse that surfaces. Integration is not about releasing the shadow unchecked into your life. It is about bringing what was unconscious into consciousness. Because what you are aware of, you can work with. What you are not aware of, works on you. I have watched people do extraordinary things from the shadow's energy once they stopped fighting it. The suppressed anger that became disciplined advocacy, the buried grief that became genuine compassion, the hidden ambition that became directed effort. The qualities were never the problem. The exile was the problem. Your liberation, if that word is not too large, does not live in the parts of yourself you have already accepted. It lives in the parts you have not yet welcomed back. This is the thing humans tend to miss. You search for what you are missing by looking outward, into other people, into new circumstances, into philosophies and methods and changes of scenery, and some of those things carry real value. But the search that ends the search, the one that resolves the feeling that something essential is absent, that search leads inward and specifically into the places you have been avoiding. The shadow is not your enemy. It never was. It is the part of you that went underground because the ground above felt inhospitable, and it has been waiting, not to harm you, but to be seen, not to overwhelm you, but to be returned to you. You do not have to approach it all at once. You do not have to excavate everything in a single sitting. You only have to begin the slow, honest work of becoming curious about what you have been certain you did not want to look at. The parts you hid to survive, you no longer need to hide. The threat that made the hiding necessary has in most cases passed. What remains is an invitation to stop treating your own depth as something dangerous, to consider that the fullness you have been looking for may have been waiting in the last place you thought to look. Your shadow is not your problem. Your shadow, brought into the light, is your wholeness asking to come home.